Hello boys and girls of Earth, it is Jerry. I'm back in action. It's 2015 and I'm here to talk to you, yes you, about a film I saw not long ago. So, recently, a couple weeks ago now, I saw a new film that some of y'all might have heard of, some of y'all might not have heard of. Okay, this film, there's sun in my eyes. Okay, so this film, this is the newest movie by the Spierig brothers, and if you don't know the Spierig brothers, you should. I'm a big fan of these guys' work. They're a couple brothers from Australia. A few years back they made a sort of sci-fi zombie crossover flick. Lots of humor, very fun, strange little movie called Undead. One of the best zombie kills ever is in that movie, so check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's you know, rough around the edges, but it's a good time. And then they also did a movie that you might have seen from a couple of years ago, I think 2007, called Daybreakers, which had Ethan Hawke and Sam Neill and a couple other people, set in the future, where, you know, vampires are the majority of the world now. You know, human beings are an endangered species and the vampires are farming the remaining humans, but they're running out of blood. Very cool concept. And I gotta say, first and foremost, what I love about these two guys is that, you know, in their productions, their movies, they're really good at drawing very detailed worlds. They're really good at coming up with these interesting concepts and then fleshing them out into very rich worlds. You can tell they've thought of all the possibilities, and the designs are great and whatnot. And this new movie, Predestination, is no exception. It's very different, again, from their other work. You know, they seem to be jumping around to different ideas and stuff like that, but it's still firmly planted in science fiction. So this is a movie that expands upon a short story by Robert Heinlein, who wrote the story that became Starship Troopers and all that. So this guy is a science fiction author, kind of contentious in the sense that he might not be a great person, but his sci-fi is good, and these guys have taken it and expanded upon it and made this movie Predestination. It takes place in a sort of futuristic version of the 80s, and to describe it is kind of hard because if you sum it up, if you like sum up the log line, it kind of sounds like Minority Report, and it kind of sounds like much more of an action movie than it is, because Ethan Hawke works for this bureau of the government that specializes in like crime prevention and time travel. So he travels through time to specific places and basically works to apprehend criminals before they can, you know, do the crimes. And that's sort of the wallpaper, but this movie is much more personal than that, and much more of a mind bender than that. I mean, that's sort of the setup of who Ethan Hawke is. He's an agent of this branch. However, so much of this film is very personal, and a lot of it rests on his co-star, Sarah Snook, who was in Jezebel back in October, and she stars opposite Ethan Hawke in this. And I have to tell you, this is the first movie I have knowingly seen her in, and she is fucking incredible. She is so good in this movie. And Ethan Hawke is great too, and I know some people complain that while Daybreakers is a really cool concept and a really cool story, you know, some of the acting is a bit green, and I think the Spierigs are getting better at directing actors now, because, you know, like the first time they're on screen together, they start talking, and the scene goes on for a few minutes, and I was sitting there going, oh, they're actually having like a conversation. They're not just, you know, skipping to plot points right away. And I think that's why this movie got dumped into January, because, you know, January gets shit on a lot of the time, January, February movies, because it's sort of the dumping ground for the movies that, you know, studios know aren't going to do very well, or they know aren't very good or whatnot. But I've come to appreciate January lately, because it's also the place where studios seem to cram these strange little films they don't quite know what to do with. It's like, I love The Grey, and The Grey came out in January, and The Grey was a movie that the studios didn't quite know how to sell, didn't know what to do with. And this is one of those, you know, rare little nuggets you get in the beginning of the year where it's like, man, it's strange, so I get that they didn't know what to do with it necessarily, but it's awesome. I'm so glad it's here. I mean, this movie is very inventive, and it's science fiction, but it's a little more heady science fiction, and it's a very personal science fiction. It's not about explosions and alien fights and whatnot. This movie is sort of combination sci-fi, combination period piece. Some of it's sort of a crime thriller, but it works on so many different levels, and Sarah Snook has to play so many different versions of this character. And the places the story goes, and I don't want to ruin any of them because they're... I don't want to ruin any of the places this story goes, because it's just, it would be to do the movie a disservice. You know, part of the fun is the surprises and stuff like that, and the certain twists you can pick out and certain twists you can't. And there is so much going on here that just isn't what you normally see, and Sarah Snook has to play such a wide range of people because it really is her story. It's a very personal story to that character, and she has to play a woman, a man, a young version of herself, an older version of herself, and she and Ethan Hawke have incredible chemistry, and Noah Taylor is also in this, and Sarah Snook and Noah Taylor and Ethan Hawke and Noah Taylor get to play off each other as well, and they have a good screen chemistry. And this movie, I mean, again, it's very different from Undead, it's very different from Daybreakers, but it is, again, so rich in how well they draw the details of this world and all the different places it goes, because this movie sort of, like I said, is a period piece. It jumps throughout different parts of history, and it's also sort of an alternative history. So the aesthetics are really cool, and the sort of trappings of this sort of time travel story are really cool and interesting. And it's kind of a lo-fi science fiction story in a sense. I mean, it's not... You just gotta see it. So I can't recommend this movie enough, especially in January. It's one of the rare nuggets of a really cool film that comes out in January. So if you can check it out, please do. It's really cool. I think the writing is good, the acting's great, and I think the Spierigs are, again, getting better and more sure-footed, and you know, they're kind of Renaissance men because they write and direct together. I know at least one of them works on the score. They both do visual effects and whatnot. They do the editing, I think. They really craft their movies, I get the sense, and I really like what they do, so I'm always looking forward to seeing them around, and it was nice to have them back again after so long. So yeah, Predestination is the movie. Definitely check it out if you can. Really cool, different sci-fi film, and I'm just so glad it's here. I wish we could see more sci-fi movies like this. So yeah, what's a good question? What's a sci-fi story you've read, maybe a short story or a novel or something like that is maybe off the beaten path that you would love to see made into a movie? Let's talk about that. So yeah, until next time, leave some comments in the comments section, be kind to your fellow commenteers, and until next time, I am Jerry, the movie is Predestination. Cheers.